Hey everyone, this is Terry, and this is going to be a chance for me to answer a few of your questions that have been lingering unanswered for a bit. And hopefully this will be helpful to some of you and to you who have asked the questions. Now, the first question is, what do I fertilize with, or what did I fertilize with this weekend? And this is the most important thing. Thank you, my brother Mike Brodzik, rest in peace, love you brother. Maxagro General Hydroponics, and I buy the big tub because I have such a strong addiction that I go overboard, and so I need this much to water. And you can see some of the nutrients, and then I used Epsom salts. There's no formula, maybe a tablespoon per gallon, and this helps with providing magnesium, which is great for foliage development and growth. And this question number 2 is for my buddy and perpetual orchid vendor. He is wanting me to show off my diurna, which I just got, and how to water it. And for this, I gently hold it to the surface until it is waterlogged enough to where it will not lose its media in the water. I could also place an upside down pot and then set that on it so that it gets completely soaked and the roots get green, the active roots. Now you can see this is an encyclia. Despite the shriveled roots, it has 2 growths. It has 2 growth points, and the media is very, very coarse. There isn't a bit of moisture retentive media in there, except for what you will see which looks like dirt, which would be the breakdown of the media, which is why this is in need of a repot. It easily separated into 2 pieces, which is what Josh needed to know so that he would be confident that his part was more than just a measly 1 bulb. Now, I had originally thought of giving him this one, but I think I'll keep this one so that he will know that his is really good. Now, you can count those bulbs. That was what I was going to give Josh, or Pete. Now, look at the media. You can see it's perlite, leca, charcoal. There's some cut up pieces of, looks like styrofoam. Now, this is the one that I was going to keep, but I think I'll give that to Pete. And you can count the pseudobulbs. There's at least 5 on each. And there are 2 growth points. There are 2 growth points. So there you go. And that is my diurna, which is a species that is very, very, very hauntily fragrant. Now, another question is, how do I maintain a control over a plant who is blooming or in sheath, and how do you keep it cleaned up, prepare it for a show, or keep the insects at bay, the scale or the mealies or whatever that you've had a problem with, an infestation on whatever particular plant. Now, this one has had that problem with scale and mealies, particularly when it is in growth, which is, they love that tender new growth. But this plant has been gently returned to full glory, and the roots have attached itself to the mount. And I wish I had scissors, because I really would love to cut those zip ties off just to prove to you that the plant will not move. It'll stay in that position, which is what a Cattleya encyclia, mounted plant in general, needs, is stability when it is mounted so that it does not rock around a lot. Now, this plant, as I said, has had a problem with infestation all the way down to the rhizome, down to the cork. Now, you see there is a sheath there. I had showed you 2 or 3 other new growths and the roots as I go around the plant and under the plant, because you really have to look at the plant in 3D, front and back, because you can't just water or spray a plant from the front side where the plant is, because the plant moves around the roots to the back as it grows and snakes its way into the cork or whatever the mount is to secure itself. So, and another person asked, it was actually Cinda, how do I spray my plants? Because most people, she says, cannot do it. Well, I think most people have a yard or a balcony, especially if you have orchids, or if there's a park, you can take your plant and hang it on a tree. And if you don't, of course, you won't have a hose there, but you can use one of those pump things and, spray it as you would a hose, because it is not on a strong jet spray, as you saw. It's very gentle. Now, I also want to finish up with just showing you how a tip that someone asked, I can't remember. What is my one tip with watering thoroughly? Now, I always have been talking about the roots and how to water them, especially aerial roots, visible roots, that you should make sure that those you water like a vanda, i.e. Brassavola, Cattleyas, encyclia, any mounted plant. You should water those roots that are active, that have velamen covered roots with active tips or not. You should water them until they turn green. That means that they have uptaked enough water. That was my Rufa, which I am a little bit more fastidious with the water because it is in growth. It has 2 growth points. You see that, Pete? You saw those Trichocentrum. That was one of my Stacy eyes that loves and needs copious amounts of water, especially mounted, and they do prefer to be mounted, especially when they're young. They need just copious amounts, more so than any bare root or mounted plant. And here is the vanda. This is my Docrilla, I'm sorry, terretifolia, which is in, probably it's going to spike soon, but I wanted to show you the plethora of roots that have only increased in number when I've brought it out here under the tree, as opposed to where it was in more of a shady location. Well, it wasn't shady, but it got less light. And it's getting more light, and the roots have just increased. And I'm hoping that will stimulate those nubbins on the growths that I would presume would be the beginnings of inflorescence. Here is another Trichocentrum, young, that needs copious amounts of water to get it established, those roots going. That is my Brassavola. I'm not sure, but you can see how those roots have been watered and are lime green color. Here is the vanda, the one vanda that those lime green roots have just been watered. Now, the tip that I have, and I have said it, if I haven't said it, is you have to water all sides of the plant. For example, you see this Brassavola, the roots, it has been watered, and I go around the plant and water front and back. However, it has to be accomplished. Because look, this is an example. You see the roots on the front and on the back. So just watering a plant on one side, to me, is not enough. You need to make sure the back, especially with mounts, are watered, even if you don't see the roots, because the roots could be progressing and pushing through the cork or the wood. Now, this is another example of why this plant has plant all around. So you need to have it hanging on something that swivels, or you have to water around the plant, or it won't get all of those roots, or it won't get the plant thoroughly watered. If you only water half the plant, don't think that it will wick its way to the other side. Why don't you just walk around it with the hose or whatever you water with to make sure. Now, in my case, if I didn't do that, this would not have happened ever because of the fact that I walk around to the back of this Forbes because you can see all of what is hanging down. I knew those two were there, and look how beautiful they are. Perfect. Hanging down there, just beautifully, freshly opened, and I'm making sure that I'm watering the roots and not the flowers, of course. And, of course, minding my poo, looking at the plethora of new growths. And in doing that, look at what I found. Another bud. Woohoo! Hallelujah. Happy days are here again. This is why this is a bucket list plant, and I can't stop raving. So I hope I've answered your questions and have given you food for thought. I'm not an expert. This is just how I do. You asked me, so I answered you. But it's really up to you how you prefer to do things based on your environment, your milieu, your limitations, what have you. We all have them. We don't have the luxury of the Florida, but they are now preparing for a hurricane. So, okay, Florida is not so special. But anyway, folks, I hope that you enjoyed this because I sure like answering your questions. And I really enjoy you forwarding them to me, good or bad. I will get to you eventually because I love you all. You have taken the time to watch me. So thanks for watching, folks, and enjoy your